Welcome back to In Pursuit of. I have Shruti Nair of Ashoka India with me, and she is in pursuit of building a community of change makers across the country. So, Shruti, tell me, what is this gap that you are trying to fill as Ashoka India?
The community of social entrepreneurs that we are building, and one thing we've learned from them is that social entrepreneurs and the government, they really complement each other, right? And why do I say that? I think one of the things that we've learned as part of the impact study that we've done with the work of our social entrepreneurs is that 83% of them have shifted policies within 5 years of election as an Ashoka Fellow, right? Now, what does that insight tell us? That insight tells us that the government is really open to learning, right? Open to bringing policy shifts, open to changing their ways of thinking, right? Hence, I say that social entrepreneurs work really sort of adds on to what the government is trying to do. Similarly, we've also seen social entrepreneurs leverage the network that the government has, right? So, for instance, skill building, social entrepreneurs who are really doing skill building initiatives, right, or livelihoods organizations, they really work with the network that the government has to add on to the work that they're already doing. So, I think there is a really a nice sort of a dance that we see between the government and the work that the social entrepreneurs do, and very complementing. Another gap I think that we've built is that oftentimes I hear both our social entrepreneurs and change makers say that for them this has been a very lonely journey, right? Being on this entrepreneurial journey, working on really difficult problems with communities is hard,
Yes.
right? And their families may not get it, people around them may not get it. It is a lot of pressure, and there's a huge toll that it takes on them, on
and there's
their
no
mental
profit
health.
coming out of it.
Nothing. So their mental health and well-being also takes a toll. What does a community like Ashoka do then, right? It really gives you that safe space. It really gives you that trusted network there where there are other like-minded people, right? So you can always fall back on this community and really find people who can really understand you. That sense of community, that sense of identity is really strong with our Ashoka fellows, and I think that's something that adds a lot of value that perhaps that the government really doesn't have right now. Amplifying the work that social entrepreneurs do by giving them that sense of community, which they get with Ashoka.
That's really nice. We love to blame the government and say ye nahi kiya, wo nahi kiya. And you are talking about everybody being a change maker. What can a person say, whether they're 30 or 40 or 50, everybody cannot become a social entrepreneur, right?
Right.
But what can they do other than just donating clothes to their house help or just writing a check?
There's so much we all can do, right? And I think one learning has been that each one of us has that ability to bring change. Not something that is only special with social entrepreneurs, and they're special because they've given them the permission to bring that change, right? So we all need to do that with ourselves, right? We need to give ourselves permission to step out and bring the change that we want to bring, right? And I think it's very important for us to remember that, remind ourselves of that day in and day out. So when you see a problem, you step out and figure out how you should be solving it. Bring like-minded people together, mobilize the community, and really work towards solving it, and believe that you have the power to change. Another sort of realization that we've had, when a young person, be it your child or any young person in your life, comes to you and says that, this is the problem that they saw and they really feel about it, and they keep coming back to you 3 or 4 times with that problem, encourage them to think of a solution, right? By the 4th time, you will really find that they are able to refine their solution, right? And then I think this is the most important of it. Please do not step into solving that problem for them. Let them take that initiative. Let them solve it, right? Do not step in and solve it for them. Do not let any adult come in, because what you're helping the child do in the process is that really believe in their ability to bring change, right? So you could support them, but do not stop them from doing it. Do not take it on yourself. Believe that our young people, our children, have the ability to change, and encourage them and do whatever it takes to encourage them to solve that problem. That's something that all of us can do. We don't need funding, we don't need big resources, we don't need big ideas. It's something that all of us can do.
It's so nice, actually, Shruti. I was just thinking that it's such a, we always think of, doing something for society means only, helping an NGO, only helping the needy, but to actually, in terms of a job, not just in terms of being able to get married, buy a house, do the typical.
Absolutely. And the idea, yeah, the idea is not for your child to grow up and become a social entrepreneur, right?
Right.
But it's about having those skills. And even if they go into a corporate job or become an entrepreneur themselves or join politics, whatever it may be, the skills that they are learning in the process of solving that problem, empathizing with the problem, and developing a solution for someone else, I think that will come in handy no matter where they go.
That is so true. You were in the social sector for a long time, and now you're leading Ashoka India. Any really, really uh, life-changing experiences which made you feel that this is what I'm in the right place, or this is what I need to be doing?
I grew up in a middle class family. We had two young girls in the house, me and my sister. My parents were both sort of government officials, right? And I think we really sort of saw them work hard and put in all their resources. We also saw that very early on in my growing up years, we decided to start a library, and we realized that books are your best friends. So how do you sort of ensure that people who don't have access to a library get access to books? So we mobilized our community, the community that we lived in, and collected books from everyone, put labels on the house number and the name of the person, and we said that, okay, we're going to set up a library in one of the rooms in my friend's place, and it's going to be like a walk-in library. Anyone can come in and borrow books and return it, right? We put posters everywhere and all of that. So I think that what that experience taught me was that you really can sort of bring do if you see something that really bothers you, you can do something about it, right? Several years from then, I started working as a journalist, and I was really interested in social change. While growing up, I also saw my father, who used to work with the Indian Space Research Organization, and he really his work was in how do you bring communication technology for social change. So I think the thread of social change has stayed in my life throughout. I worked as a journalist, again, on a lot of stories around social change. I did my PhD, which was again specializing in social change and gender and women's livelihoods. So I think after all of this educational experience, when I started working in the impact investing and venture philanthropy space, I really saw how critical it was to have a social change idea in the hands of one individual and how powerful it can be, right? And I think my work at Ashoka has sort of made me believe in that even more. First, the social entrepreneurs as role models, and now the young change makers as role models. But when I really sort of started spending time with social entrepreneurs and really understanding their journeys, right, one of the things that I realized was that they were talking about what this has done, what this work has done to their mental health and well-being, right? And I think it was such an aha moment, because I think we completely lost focus of the social entrepreneur at an individual level, right? We started building these communities, but I think it was very important to then realize that this is complex work, this is difficult work, and it really takes a toll on them as well, right? So how do you sort of then ensure that your engagements are towards helping them through that difficult time, helping them create these sub-communities so that they can learn from each other and really rely on each other and getting that support that they may not get elsewhere.
Being in the social sector is difficult, period, right? So what do you do to stay motivated when the going gets tough?
I think there's one common thread that I have seen across social entrepreneurs and change makers, right? And I think Bill says this beautifully, making someone realize that they have the power to give. I think that sort of keeps me going, because you really see a shift in an individual when they realize that they have a role to play in the society beyond themselves, beyond their families.
How would you say you have transformed since you joined the social sector?
In my 15 years of being in the social impact space, seeing the power of an individual entrepreneur, right, and the shift that they can bring, I have really started believing in my power as well, right? I now don't look at a problem and turn away. I now don't look at a problem and say, oh, maybe someone else will solve it, right? And I remember doing that as a child, but as growing up, you also become cynical and you sort of lose that touch, right? So it has really helped me sort of bring back that spirit of, bringing change that I want to bringing change that I want to see to this world, and I think that is how I have transformed, and I hope that that's something that I'm able to pass on to my child and to the future generation as well.
So, Shruti, my last question to you is that what would you, if you had one wish to change something in the social sector landscape in India, what would that be?
I think one observation that I've had in my work in the social impact space is that there is a need for patient capital, right? I think oftentimes a lot of resources go into seeing change in one particular community or solving one particular problem in a community, but bringing capital or resources to see systems change or to see long-term impact or to
Wider
see
impact.
or to see shifts in mindset. I think mindset shift is a long game, right? And we really need stakeholders who believe in that idea of bringing that shift. So I think more resources perhaps flowing into not short-term projects.
It's just happened and that's it. Like, just like broken pieces in some way.
Yeah. So we really need long-term patient capital
we
in
need
the sector.
people who have vision and people to think long term, actually, not just that, oh, I will do this little piece and that's it. I mean, it's great that you're doing this little piece, but even that may not be enough if it's just that much.
Yeah, yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you, Shruti. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate the time you've taken out to spend with us and to share all your insights and your journey. And I appreciate your coming here.
Thank you for having me, Aparna.